What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to lesson number 9. The Phantasmic here and now. We see nothing as it is now. So this is the lesson from A Course in Miracles, lesson 9. I see nothing as it is now. Very much building on the past couple of lessons, but just saying it, putting it out there. I see nothing as it is now. What the heck does this even mean? Well, it's the awareness and the understanding that we don't really have the big picture view of anything. So we don't know what it is now. We only have thoughts that are based on previous experiences and previous knowledge. And those previous experiences were rooted in different experiences and context and everything. And yet we bring them all crashing into the present moment. A lot of the times to the detriment of our inner peace. I mean, all of the time. Let's be real. All of the time. And the course in this particular chapter says that, the idea here is not to fully understand where this thread is going, because it is, again, an iterative process. So, we're practicing here. We're not, seeking to fully understand. And that's the big difference, right? We're not trying to aim for understanding. We're aiming for practice. And this is where, doing these every day gets us anchored in this process of questioning our thoughts, just that little bit, and sufficient that we begin to see how the mind really does play tricks on us, and plays tricks on us, not as in, it has some kind of agency that is like lording inner peace, or fear over you. These are just about choices that we can make. And it's pulling us back into the awareness that we have the choice. We can choose, right? We can choose so much more than we may think that we can. And so, what is the now here? Like, I see nothing as it is now. I see nothing as it is now. So what is the now then? The now is really just the miracle, which is the perspective shift. You see nothing as it is through the eyes of the perspective shift. That's usually not our starting place. Our starting place, I mean, unless you're very enlightened, and unless you have, a lot of, unless you've practiced this or you've come here with a knowing, right? There are ways that this can show up, but for the majority of us, we don't arrive at moments with this understanding that we don't see things as they actually are. We see things as we are. That's that quote, right? You don't see things as you are. You see things as you don't see things as they are. You see them as you are. So this is where I see nothing as it is now. Nothing. I laugh, just again chuckling at how we make these stories. We make these stories and we make life very difficult for ourselves. And I chuckle because I get caught up in it too, right? I get caught up in the meaning making that just pulls us out of that. So very similar to our projector room lesson yesterday, this is also an act of projection, but it's a calling back of our awareness to say, whoa, 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 hey, everything that is outside of you is the way you're seeing it. And especially if you see it as a form of attack, or especially if you see, war in that action. I mean, this is not to say on the specifics of war, because there is an actual war, but I'm talking about acts of war in terms of defense, in terms of attacking others, in terms of those specific things. And attacking others, we don't even have to do that out loud. We can do that in our minds, right? Have you ever had a fight or a disagreement, and then in your mind, in the shower, while you're laying in bed, while you're making coffee, the times where your brain is not busy, right? It has to be busy. Your body is not, your body is just being, because there's a routine to the things you're doing, right? I know when I make my cup of coffee, I know where the coffee pods are. I know where all of the things are, the moving parts are, so that I can, I do it all very rotely. And that is a time when I start to see in the morning what kind of day I could have if I remained unconscious of what's going through my mind, because the mind is just busy. So if the mind is just busy, then how can we know for sure what is now? So back to this, you have a disagreement with someone, okay? You have a disagreement with them, and you are in these times in your day where your body is just doing its thing, and it knows what it needs to do. So you've set up a routine, and you're just doing it. And then your brain goes, oh, I should have said that. I should have said that. You think of the best comeback. right? I dislike conflict, so I tend to shy away from it a lot of the time. And so this, then you get like this big, like, I'm so smart. I have so many things to say to that person now, damn it. And then you identify with the past of what happened, but your emotions get fired up in the present moment. So there's an attachment made between now and somewhere else, between now and something else. So if the, you see nothing as it is now, and even in those moments when we have that conflict with people, we don't know where they're specifically coming from in terms of their context, right? It's almost that empathy has become a buzzword for companies to capitalize on it and co-opt and say, oh, this is what empathy means. Empathy to me is being able to understand that you don't know everything about where someone is coming from, right? You don't know everything about where someone is coming from. And seeing that place within you, in your own reactions and in your own interpretations. And this is how compassion starts to flow from us, because we can see then we don't actually know everything. And the reaction that we're having, however strong, maybe it is strong, maybe there's a need for it to be strong, but we're not identifying with it and running with it, right? We're not identifying with, it's like throwing a bowling ball. Someone approaches you with a bowling ball and you have to throw it into the middle of a field, right? It's throwing the bowling ball without going, why the hell are you asking me to throw a bowling ball? What? Like we jump to thoughts and associate with them so quickly, especially in those moments of conflict. But this is where empathy and compassion come into play, because we don't know what something is for. We don't know all of someone's why. We don't know how they're going to reflect at the end of their life. If they're even going to remember this interaction, if they're going to remember you. We don't know. We don't know why someone goes from 2 to 10, and I'm not justifying people being horrible. What I'm saying is that if we have frustrations with people in our lives where they forget something, okay? To use an example, this week was last week I think it was garbage week, so it alternates between garbage and recycling. So it was garbage week, and one of my roommates forgot to put the garbage out, but they also had like three huge exams that they were doing, like worth, I think it was like one of them was 68% of their mark. Who the fuck is going to remember the garbage? Right? But without that aspect of wondering what else is going on here, like I wonder what's happening here. Maureen St. Germain talks about this in her book, Waking Up in 5D, where she has this brilliant process that she uses called like a wondering, right? I wonder what's happening there. Instead of assuming that we know, I wonder why they didn't take out the garbage. I wonder why, it's just stuff like this. Like even, I've seen even folks taking their animals, their dogs for a walk, their animals, I don't know, as if they have something other than dogs that they walk. I don't know. Yeah, someone was just taking their bear for a walk. It's fine. Anyway, people taking their dogs for a walk, and a couple of them have gone on the lawn, and then you realize that they already had a bag hanging from the leash. It doesn't excuse the fact that they just left this stuff on the lawn, but if they don't have another bag, what can they actually do? What can they do, right? What can they do? They can't do anything. So it's like expanding the context to understand. These are small examples of things that when they initially happen, I'm like, ugh, I have to go fix this now. But it's like the balancing these things in perspectives, because one can throw you off completely, and just your inner peace, that sense of anchoring in the present moment is gone. It just evaporates. But then when you pull back into this perspective of, I see nothing as it is now. I see nothing as it is now. You see someone not doing something from a place of what you think is important, from what you associate and pull with those thoughts, right? But we don't really see anything as it is now, because we're not seeing A, from that person's perspective, and B, certainly not from a longer take, from a bigger picture, right? Again, this isn't advocating that we just put up with certain behaviors or things along those lines. This is more so advocating for us to just remember for a second. Remember for a second. Take a breath. Remember, we don't know what everything is for. We don't. And I know we live in a world that demands that we know. So like I like going on hikes and going to places where I feel this big. I feel like where I don't need to have all the answers, where I feel like I don't need to have, that's what real rest is to me. Rest to me is going to places and being in spaces and around people that allow me to feel small, not reduced. They allow me to feel infinite and comforted by that infinitude, as opposed to feeling like I have to have the answer for everything, or like my ego has to be on overdrive, or like I need to have answers or comebacks or anything like that. Just doesn't need to be the case, right? Further to that point, there's a book called Love Unfucked by Gary John Bishop. He is just, it's such a, he tells it like it is. He's a straight shooter. And that's why I really like his books. Is because it's just like having a friend sit down with you and be like, are you serious? Like, you're actually going to do this? You really? Here's the behavior, like completely unfiltered so that you can see it. Are you sure you want to choose this? Right. And so I was just reading it because I've liked his other books for that same purpose. And this one in particular talks about argumentative patterns in relationships where, you know, we spend about 30% of our time, and he used this statistic, I think it was 30% of our time engaging with partners, arguing. We're arguing to be right. We're arguing for our points. If we spend that precious 30% of our time where we actually could converse with and engage with a person that we purport to care about and love and be interested in, you know, and be committed to, all of those things, 30% is how much time we have to actually engage in conversation. And if we spend that 30% of the time debating and arguing about things that are preoccupations of the mind, what are we really doing? Right? You could also probably apply that same rule, as it were, to, you know, relationships that we have with family. How much time do we actually have to converse with family? Probably even less than that 30% than with a partner. Like, I think he was making the assumption of that based on someone who, like, living together, like you go to sleep together, you wake up together, usually, I mean, unless you have two different schedules, but, and if you're not living together, it's different. But this, you know, how much of our time are we spending anchored in the past? How much of our time are we spending anchored in this argumentative state, this ego anchored state, as opposed to letting the present moment transform where we are at and enjoying what is unfolding right now with that person and with these moments that we have and these opportunities to share that we have. So I see nothing as it is now. Very true. And also thinking about this in terms of the work that we make, right? The art that we make. If we see nothing as it is now, what else could it be for? What else could it be for? That to me is an exciting thought. That's an exciting idea. What else could a phone be for if we're just seeing it through the eyes of the past? If we don't see it for what it is right now, what else could it be? It could be so many different things. I want to say that it could be anything. It probably can't be anything, but, you know, think about it that way. Use that as a creative prompt. If you see only the past in something, how else could it be seen? How else could it be used? How else could it be given life to on a canvas? So that, my friends, is lesson 9, the phantasmic here and now. So thank you for joining me for another lesson. I will see you tomorrow morning, bright and sunshine early. Okay, take care.